project management. We have a fabulous book review this month, and I'm not just blowing some Portland smoke at you. It's the Wall Street Journal bestseller Multipliers by Liz Wiseman. I've heard many good things about this book for years, and now I've finally had a chance to give a review of this masterpiece. Hang on as I succinctly summarize the five main disciplines of multipliers, plus a bunch of extras. These are super fantastic tips to multiply, not diminish the people you manage and work with. And some final notes, listen to the end for my pithy summary, and also remember to stay tuned to the end for your corresponding PMI code. Now, first, a little background. What's the core thesis of multipliers? It's that often leaders can be subjugated to two buckets. They're either a diminisher or a multiplier. A diminisher is someone who has to be the smartest person in the room. Their ideas must be the best. Their inner circle is small, and they're generally a Mr. Bossy Pants. Meanwhile, a multiplier is a leader who is open to new ideas from anyone. Their inner circle isn't merely defined by a handful of yes men or experts. A multiplier is often the top dog, but is compassionate leader who listens. One final note here, we obviously don't live in a binary world. There are some leaders who only have one or two diminishing traits, some with only a few multiplying traits, and a few that are in between. Now, on to the first hook of the book. How effective is a multiplier versus a diminisher? Almost as effective as a bribe to an established politician. Wiseman's research illustrates that a diminisher only gets 20 to 50% production from their employees. Meanwhile, Wiseman's research into multipliers show that they can get 70 to 100% production from their employees. For some quick napkin math, that shows a 2 times gain. Ponder that. 2 times improvement. Wow. Multipliers discipline number one is to attract and optimize talent. Now, for attracting talent, it helps to be attractive. And if you look like me, you're going to need some brains and personality to add to the mix too. And don't be afraid to look almost anywhere for talent. I know from a personal example that I hired several technicians that didn't have fancy degrees or pedigrees. However, they enjoyed working on cars or a variety of home repairs. They also had the drive to succeed. These folks ended up being total winners because they had the aptitude and drive for success. Plus, I could teach them some ins and outs of various machine maintenance and repairs. Another hiring tip is to look for someone who can do a specific task better than anyone else at your firm. It will give you a competitive advantage, especially someone who is outside your realm of expertise. A way to optimize or retain talents is to involve people in decision making. When someone is listened to, they feel valued and will be much more eager to offer valuable input the next time. Don't worry about the org chart when you have a difficult problem to solve. Find the folks who know the issue because they'll often have the best solution. A final tip here is that not a talent should be retained. If you have a prima donna on your team, you should be first to cancel them in private. However, if they're not willing to change, let them go. Multiplier's discipline number two is to be a liberator. So, what's a liberator? Fortunately, you don't have to be brave enough to storm a Normandy beach to be a liberator. You just need to frequently be comfortable with the best idea not being your own idea. You need a little dose of humility, and don't we all need a little dose of humility? Well, some of us daily. uh, Maybe let's move on. So, what environments breed great answers? Small sized meetings with good questions will often breed great answers. If you get 2 to 3 key contributors together with a focused agenda and some good questions, you can brainstorm a lot of great potential solutions in less than 1 hour. I guarantee it. Another liberator skill is when you're working one on one with a colleague and their report is not up to snuff, and I'm not talking about chewing tobacco here. You just need to be calm but intense. You need to simply ask, is this your best work? Here, Wiseman reveals a great example of going back to the drawing board 3 times to eventually produce an excellent business case. Finally, allow not only yourself but your employees to fail fast. If you can fail fast and cheap, aka early, you can learn a lesson rather quickly and cheaply. Failing at the beginning of a project is much, much better than at the end. Multipliers discipline number 3 is to be a challenger, and I'm not dodging the issue. As with the Liberator, you need to ask good questions to challenge your team, and by challenging, you need to set a high bar. However, a key to setting a high bar is to do it incrementally. You don't go from high school to the pros, well, unless you're a generational talent like LeBron James. So, what are some pragmatic steps to challenge your team? Well, number one, seed the opportunity. Show your team the need to start this project and solve that problem. Now for Procter and Gamble, this involved a bus trip down to the Atlanta Bath and Kitchen Show. The myriad of booths sparked many new product innovations for P&G for years to come. Number 2, lay down a challenge. For example, after that bath and kitchen show, tell each attendee they need to come up with 3 new product ideas. And finally, number 3, generate belief. Help your team develop a concrete plan. Help them break down the problem into mini steps that are tangible and specific. So, multipliers discipline number 4 is to broaden discussions. Wiseman often calls this debate decisions, but that sounds kind of argumentative to me, almost diminishing. But maybe that's just me. But seriously, to broaden discussions, it comes down to 3 basic steps. Number 1, frame the debate. Much like challenging, what is the problem to solve? Who needs to have help to clarify an issue? Number 2, spark debate. Have a group of folks come in from different angles. And then to spice it up, ask people to switch positions and debate the other side so they can see it from a different perspective. Number 3, drive sound decisions. Well, how? Well, first, make sure that everyone's had a chance to share. Re-clarify the decision-making process and then make a decision. Finally, remember to communicate the solution to everyone. The 2 cents I have to add is to also document that solution and the decision. That way, you're not going to go back and you're going to try to remember what happened, what was decided. You have that documented already. Multipliers discipline number 5 is to become an investor. Perhaps the best way to define the investor is to call out the opposite, which is a micromanager. Micromanaging is to diminishing what a donut is to a diet. A very bad idea. Yes, invest in, train your people, but for the purpose of having them come up with the solutions. Unleash your team for success. Another key to investing in a team, especially one you're not actively leading, is to have a point person. If you don't have a single point person, it's way too easy to play the blame game. And as for finding solutions, it's okay if you mention a potential solution. However, let the team weigh in, and your default should be as a director, not a dictator. Finally, allow your team to make small mistakes. Most members will learn from them, especially if you conduct lessons learned sessions. These occasional small mistakes will grow your team and make them not only a better team, but better individually. Now, some bonus material here. There's so much we could cover here, but let's take a minute to discuss dealing with diminishers. Fortunately, diminishing is usually not about you. Well, except when it is. So let's discuss ways to minimize it. Now, this list isn't comprehensive, but it is a great start. Number 1, turn down the volume. Much of diminishing is your boss barking, but not biting, so just ignore it. A tip from me is Proverbs 15:1. A gentle answer turns away wrath. Number two, strengthen your connections by talking with coworkers. However, my warning is to be very careful regarding this because it can quickly turn to gossip. Number three, minimize your team with the diminisher, your time with the diminisher. Schedule a quick meeting, present the facts, listen for a response, and get out like a green beret. Minimize that time. Number four, remember to ask for clear direction. Is there a specific goal or date to hit? Be concrete. Number five, if relevant, admit your mistakes and deal with one issue at a time. An airing of grievances may work on TV for George Costanza, but it won't for you. Number six, exploit your boss's strengths. If he's good at critiquing new ideas like Steve Jobs, well, stick to that. And number seven, your last resort, well, is to look for a new boss. So, some final tips here, and these are from Wiseman herself. It's kind of like a bit of Proverbs. Number one, humor. Drop it in 2 to 3 times per meeting. Some tips here. Check out my Do You Talk Funny podcast from June of 2024. Number two, specific praise. When you see a good action or offer specific praise, like for example, Corey, those plaid bell bottom pants look fantastic. But more seriously, say something like, I'm glad that you published that white paper a day early. Number three, don't be a know it all. Well, even if you are, be quiet, let your team shine. And number four, debate ideas, not people or titles. So let the best idea win, regardless of who it's from. Now for a summary. Alrighty then. It is past my bedtime, so let's wrap up this little burrito. Here's our pithy little project management lesson in 5 short bullets. Number one, attract and optimize talent. Be open to adding anyone with drive and integrity to your team and reward them with meaningful work. Number two, be a liberator. Ask good questions and let your team, not you, come up with most of the solutions. Number three, challenge. Now, this is similar to being a liberator. See the opportunity, watch your team grow. Number four, broaden discussions, spark debate, make sure you're criticizing ideas, not people. And invest. Train your people and don't micromanage them. All right, folks, that's it. And remember, today's episode counts towards 0.25 hours of power skills if you're looking for those continuing ed hours for your PMP certification. Finally, big thanks to all your listeners out there. Once again, thank you for listening to Pithy Project Management, for spending a short time out of your day to sharpen the saw. You won't regret investing in yourself. This podcast was written and produced by Ben Walker. You can contact us via the podcast notes or look up Pithy Project Management on Facebook. Feel free to send in any questions, comments, suggestions, but save your complaints for your dog. Thank you. God bless and good night.